I know the big story this week is the shock around Jon Moxley squashing CM Punk on free television, and while that story definitely has my interest, there is one that's getting my attention just a bit more. It is the internal struggle of Daniel Garcia, the young prodigy who is being pulled in opposite directions by his wrestling hero Bryan Danielson and his sports entertainment mentor Chris Jericho. This week, all three men were part of one of my favorite Dynamite promo segments ever, as we got the first extended look at who Daniel Garcia is on the microphone and how good he could potentially be. And if you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Just so we have the full picture, let's back up a minute to the post-match segment of Danielson and Garcia's tremendous 2 out of 3 falls match from the prior week's Dynamite. After going to war with his hero, a half-conscious Garcia lies at Danielson's feet. Danielson, the man Garcia idolized and modeled himself after as a young wrestler, applauds the Dragon Slayer for the guts he showed in a losing effort and offers to shake his hand. But, just as a clearly conflicted Garcia seems to have made up his mind and goes to shake his hero's hand, Chris Jericho attacks Danielson from behind. As Jericho pummels him down on the mat, Garcia pulls Jericho off Danielson to the roaring approval of the crowd. A shocked Jericho asks Garcia what he is doing and tells him to think about his actions before leaving Garcia standing conflicted in the ring with chants of "You're a wrestler" filling the arena. This was one of my favorite AEW moments ever. It's not often that a fan chant organically adds to a pro wrestling story, but that's exactly what happened here. The timing was perfect. It was clear the fans know who Garcia is, probably better than he does himself. They saw it with their own eyes, not only in the 2 out of 3 falls match, but in Bryan Danielson's return match at Fight for the Fallen, in which Garcia defeated his hero and earned the name Dragon Slayer. In the eyes of the fans, Daniel Garcia wasn't a Kangol hat-wearing sports entertainer, he was a wrestler. Fast forward to this week and the in-ring confrontation between Garcia and Jericho. Right from the start, you could read the conflict in Garcia's body language as he's coming down to the ring. Then, as the fans once again pick up the "You're a wrestler" chant, he looks down as if trying to hide, but he's got no place to go, and there is something he wants to say to Jericho. Also, a quick note on Jericho's clothes in this segment. Pro wrestling is a visual medium, and Jericho, as the sports entertainer, coming out wearing a silly-looking glitzy jacket was perfect. He looks like a cheap Hollywood sign. A sports entertainer is always on, and Jericho reminds us of that here. Anyway, as Jericho goes on with backhanded compliments about Garcia's performance and defeat, you can see Garcia looking and seeing right through Jericho's BS, who asks Garcia to apologize to him. Jericho comes off as delusional and borderline abusive with the way he gaslights Garcia in this segment. As someone watching at home, I just want to see Jericho get his comeuppance for his arrogance and mistreatment of Garcia. When Garcia does get the mic, he says Jericho knew how special that moment was last week. He puts over Danielson, he puts over the match they had, and the fans are in sync and in agreement with him the whole time, which helps put Garcia over at the same time and puts Jericho over as well, because now we all want to see him get what he deserves. Garcia also talks about how he dreamt of having that kind of match when he was a kid. He brings up his mom and hopes that the match between him and Danielson makes another kid want to have the same kind of match in the future. He personalizes it, humanizes it by mentioning his cousin Trey, whom we don't know, but because we've all got families and we can all relate to being inspired by larger-than-life people as kids, we're all aboard for the ride. Jericho stands by with a disingenuous expression on his face and says, "I understand." The climax comes when Garcia says that when Danielson reached out his hand, Garcia didn't care if he was a wrestler or a sports entertainer in that moment. All he cared about was that moment. He chastises Jericho by saying, "You ruined it. You ruined that moment for me, Chris." And he ruined it for us as fans too, because, again, we want to see Daniel Garcia show honor and respect in the ring, like a wrestler, because this is wrestling, but it's also about coming to an understanding with someone, and allow me to be a bit pretentious for a moment, realizing that you are me and I am you. Jericho then gives the most disingenuous apology anyone who's not actually sorry can give. "I'm sorry you feel that way." Jericho says Garcia is the greatest technical sports entertainer in the world today, and he wants to hear him say it. The crowd again plays their part by chanting, "You're a wrestler," and that's when Danielson's music hits and Garcia looks like he just wants to curl up and die, as if he's stuck between two bickering parents. Danielson accuses Jericho of bullying Garcia and says that Garcia can be whoever he wants to be, but that he respects him for the match they had and says he agrees with the people, that Daniel Garcia is a wrestler. Anyway, Garcia again gets pressured by Jericho to say he's a sports entertainer, and Garcia gets overwhelmed by the pressure of the moment, says he can't do it, and shoves an incredulous Jericho, who falls to the mat, much to the delight of Bryan Danielson and the fans, who chant, "You deserve it," and Daniel Garcia walks away, putting off his decision for another time. This was all brilliant, because we know that at some point Daniel Garcia will have to make a choice. And this was just one of the early chapters of his journey. You can argue whether he's better off in the JAS or the BCC, but whatever the outcome, for now, the journey is what I'm invested in. Jericho and Danielson are going to wrestle at All Out, and you know Daniel Garcia is going to feel eaten up inside watching his hero and his mentor do battle. And all the while, I'll be rooting for him, just as the fans have been, to make the right choice, to accept that in the end, yes, Daniel Garcia, you're a wrestler. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to reach 500 subs by September, and I hope you can help me get there. As a final personal note, I've been working on a bigger video project for this channel, and I really want to get it right, so I'll just stop making promises about when it'll be released, but we'll chip away at it while putting out weekly videos like this one to keep the conversation going with all of you. Until next time, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it.